Welcome once again to another edition of Shelf Life Book Reviews online. As always, I do thank you for taking the time to watch my video. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. And if you have book-loving friends, please tell them about my channel as well, both on YouTube and on Facebook. And the book that I'm about to review for you is The Nightingale Affair by Tim Mason. This is published by Algonquin Books of Chapel Hill, and it retails for $35. The Nightingale Affair is the follow-up to Tim Mason's first book, The Darwin Affair. Tim Mason writes historical fiction. His previous book was about Charles Darwin, and it was an interesting book, but this one is even more interesting as it involves Florence Nightingale. So it's part fact, part fiction, but historical fiction, and it does have a lot of people from history, including Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli, who was Prime Minister of England back in the 1860s, and it also manages to mention Charles Dickens. So it's a fun murder mystery that is most intriguing. So if you're looking for a book with a difference, The Nightingale Affair is that book. It brings back Charles Field, an inspector, who in the first book worked for the police. Now he is on his own, he's branched out, and unfortunately how the mighty have fallen, because now what he's doing is mainly he's following to see whether spouses are unfaithful to their mate. In fact, he's working for a member of parliament who wants to know if his wife is fooling around, and he wants proof. So he sort of follows the woman. But when he finds the woman, she definitely at that moment is not fooling around because she is laying dead. And a red fabric with a rose on it has been stuffed into her mouth. Now, this brings back memories for Inspector Charles Field of about 12 years ago in 1855 in Crimea, where they were looking for a killer who was stalking and killing women and stuffing red fabric with a rose into their mouths after they were murdered. Florence Nightingale was also part of that world, and she knew quite a few of the victims. So it's interesting when you get this historical part with Florence Nightingale and those women who were murdered. Now, 12 years later, Charles Field is very baffled because supposedly the killer is dead. So is it a copycat killer this dozen years later? Or has somehow the killer been resurrected? It's quite a conundrum. And in the book there are a multitude of suspects, and Charles Field is relentless in trying to find out who the killer is. Now there are also other murders as well of members of parliament and other people. So it's not just women that are being murdered, but when they are murdered, it's a different modus operandi because the fabric is stuffed into their mouths. And so it becomes a very, very complex murder mystery. And the fact that it is historical murder mystery with fact and fiction combined makes it for an even more enjoyable read. You aren't quite sure who the killer is until very, very late in the book. And the facts do come out, and Charles Field finally narrows it down as to who the killer is. Now, in 1867, Florence Nightingale is still there, but she's advanced by 12 years, and it looks basically at the whole medical profession, how it's evolved way back in the 1850s and 1860s. And another thing, the killer is not just targeting women who are in the medical profession, he also is targeting women who are part of the suffrage movement. So there's a combination killer here, how he's selecting his victims and why he has selected the victims. So it's definitely a book that will keep you engrossed from first page to last. It's over 400 pages, but don't let that intimidate you. It's excellent reading. It's very fast reading. You won't even realize you're reading that many pages. So pick up a copy of The Nightingale Affair by Tim Mason, because it's definitely a book you will not regret reading. So that's the book I wanted to draw to your attention. Hopefully you will add it to your must-buy list. So let me know if you do agree with my book review. So anyways, until we meet again, I want you to stay safe, stay sane, stay in touch, and as always, I will see you at the bookstore. Thanks again, and bye for now.